Hey guys, Desolate Magic here, and good news! The Packers beat the Bears and all the vape douches are dying left and right. I'd figured I'd start out on a high note because I'm sure these spoilers are going to be terrible. So first up, Mystical Dispute. It's a 3-cost blue instant. The spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets a blue spell, so you might as well just ignore that because color matching and color random chance who did you get paired up against is unreliable, stupid, and Wizards said they were done printing it. I guess they lied. And then counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. So at least it is any spell, but this is just a garbage cancel. I mean, yeah, it's not double blue, but cancel costs 3, but it counters anything. Just play cancel. So yeah, your opponent's not playing a blue spell. Just, they're not. So then you go to the 3, and like, how good is 3? Well, something that makes a spell cost 1 more, dead on arrival, unplayable card. I mean, if by some miracle, and I'm talking about standard, by the way, you manage to get them to spend all their mana and then you just destroy it by 1, good for you, but it's not going to happen in the typical game, and if it does, it's like the last spell they cast on their turn, and it's not as important as other ones they cast earlier to burn up the rest of their mana. 2 is like respectable, but it's absolutely dead, just unusable card past like turn 6, 7, or 8. In almost every case, they are going to have 2 more mana. Now 3, now we're talking, okay? So if it's like turn 3 or 4 and you make something cost 3 more, they probably don't have it. Now against a ramp deck, it's going to do nothing, and extremely late game, it's going to do nothing, but at least it's something. And then I have seen cards like Convolute, I think, that makes a spell cost 4 more. Still unreliable late game, unreliable against ramp. So I would just prefer to play cancel, and the odds of you going up against a blue deck are 0, but if you're playing a blue deck and you need counter spells, I guess having this in your sideboard would be a thing. Otherwise, I'm not very excited about this. It's just not a good card. I will say, though, if your girlfriend got freaky, creepy hair like that, not to mention, like, it looks like Juggalo makeup. She kind of got the paleness and then the eyes going on. I don't know what's going on there. Oh, guys, secret twist reveal in the lore. The mermaids are juggalos. How do magnets work? I don't know. But what I do know is if your girlfriend got crazy hair like that can, like, grab you, you got to get out of there. I mean, bare minimum, don't get into a mystical dispute with her. But also, you might want to fake your own death and skip the country. So next up, we've got a re-leak of the Royal Saiyans. This card is kind of ridiculous. It's a 5 loyalty for 3. It's 2 planeswalkers in 1, so haha, get it? They have more loyalty. I don't care. I don't care about flavor and lore. I care about fairness, and 5 loyalty for 3 is ridiculous. Then they have 2+1s. So the turn that they come in, they're going to have 6 loyalty, which makes them almost impossible to get rid of. Now, they don't directly protect themselves, but the +1, in case you forgot, is draw a card, then discard a card. So, okay, I mean, you could get something defensive. I don't know. I mean, especially in those colors, but whatever, it's not guaranteed. And then +1, again, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike and trample until end of turn. So this is a highly offensive planeswalker, and that ends at the end of turn, so you can't stretch that first strike into some kind of creature defending them. And then thankfully the -8 is just garbage. Draw 4 cards, which, okay, then you get 4 cards. But then when you do, the Royal Scion deals, or Saiyans, deals damage to any target equal to the number of cards in your hand. So, oh boy, a couple damage. I mean, that ult is pathetic, but you do get 4 cards out of it, so yeah, it's just card advantage and a virtually unstoppable creature. I mean, that's pretty damn good. You mix that with the fact that it's going to have 6 loyalty the second it drops into play. Ooh, that is hard to stop, but at least you don't feel the pressure of, oh, I gotta stop them before they get that ultimate off. It's not game ending, but I'd say this card is very, very annoying. Next up, we've got Fairy Godmother. It's a 1/1 for 1 with Gift of the Fae as a sorcery adventure ability, which means you cast it for that, put it in exile, and then later you can normal cast it for 1 as a creature. And target creature gets +2/+1 and gains flying until end of turn. That is a fantastic ability. And then past that, it's just a 1/1 flying fairy. So it's virtually identical to Mighty Leap. In fact, it might be identical. I'm too lazy to look it up. But yeah, good card. I mean, people have played it. It's not instant speed, though, so you can't use it as an ambush, and I don't think you should be able to. I think that would be a little much. But yeah, this is just solid. The problem is the fairy decks appear to be all fairies, so, I mean, why would you run this in like a knight's deck? It doesn't make sense. And fairies already have flying, and then if they see it coming, it's not a combat ambush. So, I mean, the decks it would go in, it might not be a very good card, but in general, it is a good card. And next up, finally, we get to see what the card behind this art is with a weird-looking bat-pug hybrid. Very strange. So it's Wicked Guardian, which I believe I guessed it was Wicked Stepmother, so I'm not that far off. It's a 4/2 for 4, human noble, and whenever a Wicked Guardian enters the battlefield, you may have it deal 2 damage to another creature you control. If you do, draw a card. So basically, if it can survive it and you don't need that for combat later, because remember, damage stacks up during the turn, free card. And I hate cards that are like 4 cost 1/1, and when they enter the battlefield, you get a card. Like, you might as well just not put the card in your deck. But this is no one-trick pony, one and done, or flicker target. I mean, this is like straight up a 4/2 for 4. So you can hit somebody pretty darn hard with this after you get the free card. It's a real shame that it says another creature you control. Because otherwise, if you drop this in by itself, it would have to target itself, and then kaboom, it's gone. Kind of like Plague Crafter. I mean, it would be kind of funny. I actually think they should have phrased it that way. So next up, we've got Wildwood Trekker. It's a 1/1 for 1 because they're really pushing that. Elf Warrior. And when it attacks or blocks, if you control another non-human creature, it gets +1/+1 till end of turn. I mean, I'd honestly rather it just be some vanilla creature with like a tribal boost, like an on-tribal boost with like a Lord card or a passive boost or something. Like, what kind of deck would this be? Like a non-tribal tribal based around this card? No, I don't think so. I think this is supposed to be more like a fun, happy coincidence, like during a draft or something. Like, if you get this into play and you're like, oh, I do have another one. Cool. And also, there are a lot of non-human creatures. I mean, probably the majority. So who knows? This might turn out to be reliable. I mean, if it is, it would basically just be a 2/2 for 1, but only on the swing, which we've had stuff like that before, and they've been somewhat popular. Next up, we've got a very significant card, Return to Nature. This is basically Supernaturalize. Choose one, which is the proper way to put a modal spell. Thanks, Wizards, for getting one of the cards right at least. Destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or exile target card from a graveyard. So this is just a strictly better Naturalize. Same speed, same cost, same rarity, but you get to maybe exile a card from a graveyard if you needed to. So if you're running Naturalize in anything, go get one of these instead. Next up, we've got Enchanted Carriage. Oh, you thought vehicles were done? You thought wrong. I am sick of them. Nobody knows how they work. Even, I think Mark himself admitted that even at the high-level tournaments, nobody knows how the speed of crewing works and when you have to crew, and it's just a mess. But, well, just gotta have your wheeled pumpkins. So, this is a 4/4 for 5. And when it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 white mouse creature tokens. Oh boy, they're really sticking to lore on this one. And then crew 2. So in other words, those 2 can drive it, but it still wouldn't have haste. It would still have summoning sickness. So a 4/4 for 5 that does nothing special and requires a crew. There must be more to this, like artifact synergy or something, because this is unplayable. By itself, without a combo and without synergy, this is complete garbage. Hey, speaking of pumpkins, we've got Turn into a Pumpkin, which does not have a capital I for some reason. That's unusual. So it's a 4-cost blue instant, and return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, then draw a card. And then we have a new mechanic called Adamant. So we talking the material, or we talking utterly unyielding in attitude or opinion in spite of appeals, urgings, etc.? Let's read it and find out. So if at least 3 blue mana was spent to cast this spell, so it's one of those, create a food token. I'd say that doesn't really have anything to do with either of those definitions. And call me crazy, but also call me lazy because I'm not actually going to check. Didn't the other cards just spell it out without saying adamant hyphen? I don't know. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. Who knows? I'd almost say between all the inaccuracies and the spelling, typing errors, the weirdness that this is a fake card, but they're claiming it's real, so all right. Next up, Once Upon a Time. Hey, look, all the proper letters are capital. Imagine that. It's a 2-cost green instant rare card, so this gonna be good. If this spell is the first spell you've cast this game, not just this turn, but this game, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Oh, here we go. So it's basically just a ley line. A delayed ley line. A delay line. Oh my gosh, Wizards, you have to make that. A delay line. Make it like, if it's like turn 5, you can drop it into play for free. Oh, you can start with it in play, but only if you're going second. So anyway, this delay line says, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them and put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, which if you try to randomize 4 cards, you'll find out that that's just stupid and you're going to know exactly what order they're in. Okay, let me reiterate. It goes to the bottom of your library in a random order. It's very important that it be random. And this starts with if this spell is the first spell you've cast this game. So in other words, 53 cards are left on your library in all likelihood, but you've got to randomize those because 49 turns from now, if you never shuffle during the entire game, you're going to need to not know what order those cards are in. Wizards, why do you even waste people's time with stupid crap like this? Did you notice that with a flipped search for Azcanta in Arena, they don't even ask you what order you want to put them in until you're like way low on cards in your library, because at that point, they just assume you don't care. Anyway, yeah, this is kind of dumb. I mean, it's top 5 and it's a creature or a land, but I mean, it does cost 0, but it's still useful and not overcosted at 2. So like, it's neat. I just don't think it's like all that powerful, but I don't know. I think in a ramp deck or whatever, it'll help you out, I guess. So whatever. It's infinitely better than an overpowered card. So next up, we've got Burning Yard Trainer, and it's a 3/3 for 5 Human Knight, Trample and Haste. Watch out for that. And when Burning Yard Trainer enters the battlefield, another target knight you control gets +2/+2 and gains Trample and Haste until end of turn. That's kind of neat. I'd rather he have the option to boost himself just once, so like his haste ability gets like a very, very big impact and trample as well. But whatever, I mean, you're probably getting through with whatever you boost, but then after that, he's only a 3/3 trampler with Who Cares Haste for 5. I mean, he doesn't seem that good, but if you've got a bunch of passive boosts that gets him up to a 5/5, which, I mean, there's way too much tribal boost in the game right now, watch out. But I think for 5, you could probably play a better knight, like something actually legendary. Also, I think 3-color knights is going to be too difficult to pull off, so I think people might have to resort to dropping a color, and clearly the color they would drop would be red. I think we're going to see white-black knights. So next up, we got something pretty epic here. It's Brimstone Trebuchet, and it's a 1/3 for 3 artifact creature wall with Defender and Reach, which, by the way, is not how trebuchets work. And if you tap it, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. And then whenever a knight enters the battlefield under your control, untap Brimstone Trebuchet. So this is going to be one of the most annoying things in the game. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Every time a knight enters the battlefield, whether it's a token or not, you deal 1 damage to your opponent, which is so annoying because the knight's deck is supposed to be overwhelming combat power that you can't defeat in combat anyway. So now they've got an artifact that you can't stop the effect of. So now to stop knights, you need both creature destruction and artifact destruction, which, boy, green can't do both, black can't do both, white can technically, but it would be rough. Yeah, this card should not have been printed. Next up, Jousting Dummy. It's a 2/1 for 2 artifact creature Scarecrow Knight. And if you pay 3, it gets +1 until end of turn. So if you pay 6, it gets +2 until end of turn. If you pay 9, your deck needs a better mana outlet. So this is kind of neat. It is a knight. I could see people playing it just for the color fixing and for the size. And the threat of that potential ambush in combat might force people to let this through, and then you just don't spend the 3, you spend it on what you actually wanted to spend it on. The threat of a boost that your opponent can see will make them block differently. So next up, we've of course got Jost. It's a 2-cost red sorcery, and choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. The creature you control gets +2/+1 until end of turn if it's a knight. Then those creatures fight each other. Well, gee, I wonder who's going to win. So yeah, Force Fight for 2. Very, very, very good. Rabid Bite is still better, but yeah, surprise, surprise, green, the expert at force fighting, is better. Next up, Murderous Rider, which appears to have more arrows stuck in it than my Skyrim character. So it's a 2/3 zombie knight for 3, but it is double black. Why do you have to go and do that, wizards? Knights are 3-color. In 3-color with 5 sets legal, so half the amount of fixing is normal, how are you going to get 2 black? How is that going to happen? It's like they know that people are going to drop one of the 3 colors. Anyway, this is a rare, and it has Swift End, which is also double black, because of course it is. Instant speed, destroy target creature or planeswalker, you lose 2 life. Okay, people are going to play this outside of a knight's deck. This is not even a knight anymore, this is just Vraska's Contempt 2.0. And remember, if you want to sell the set, kill the popular one before it. So there's a lot of anti-Planeswalker cards in the set so far, which means they're trying to make War of the Spark and its Planeswalker abilities completely irrelevant. So anyway, if you do bring this in as a creature, it has lifelink, and when it dies, put it on the bottom of its owner's library. Because if you were to resurrect this thing over and over and over, that would be ridiculous. So the fact that you just blew away a creature or a Planeswalker, oh, but you lost 2 life, oh, but this has 2 attack and lifelink, and then it has lifelink for the rest of the game, and 3 toughness ain't no joke. This thing is insane, but not inappropriately so. I would say that this is just very, very, very good. It's a nice control spell. It's going to be horrible to try to make this work in Knights, but as a standalone spell, just absolutely fantastic, appropriately costed, appropriately powerful, and not just overwhelmingly like, oh, how do I stop this? I can't get rid of this. Oh, it has such a narrow way to deal with this. The way to deal with this card is be able to kill creatures and don't rely on one single creature or Planeswalker to win you the entire game. So in other words, don't build a crap deck. Nothing OP about that. Next up, Doom Foretold. It's in white, black, and it's a 4-cost enchantment. And at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a non-land, non-token permanent. So both players, you and them, you have to sacrifice a non-land, non-token permanent. So something actually real. If that player can't, they discard a card, and then they lose 2 life, and you draw a card. You gain 2 life, and then you create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance, then sacrifice Doom Foretold. Now, I'm glad they added that, because if this happened as like a runaway effect, holy crap. Remember Torment of Scarabs? Yeah, they don't want to do that again. Yeah, if you ran out of cards in hand or stuff to sack or however the hell that one worked, you just lost. It would just hit you over and over and over until you're screwed. So it's not optional, but the people can't choose to do the other effects. So this could really do some damage. I mean, it hits you too. So I don't know what you're going to do with that. Oh, I'll just summon a ton of tokens. Well, you can't. You're going to have to use real actual cards. But if you think you can get away with this, if you've got a gigantically huge board state, this is a great way to pin them down. But then as soon as they're out of stuff they could sack, they've got basically nothing but lands left. You probably just destroyed half your army getting there, so you can't really keep hitting them, and then all that happens is they discard a card if they even have one at that point. They probably don't. They lose 2 life, so what? You draw a card, so what? And then you gain 2 life, so what? And then you get a 2/2 knight out of it, so what? I mean, if it was just like, they lose 10 life and you sacrifice this enchantment, okay, now we're talking. I mean, it will give you a huge board state advantage in theory, but if anything backfires, like they use like a triple kill or something, and now 3 of your creatures are gone, well, crap, now this got flipped real quick. I mean, now this is affecting you harder than it's affecting them. Now, the funny thing is, it doesn't say the opposite player. So if you don't have something to sack when it becomes your turn and this goes off, then you discard a card, lose 2 life, and then you also draw a card and gain 2 life, and then you still get a knight out of it. So even if it backfires, it's not really the end of the world, making this just a very unusual card. What kind of bugs me, though, is that it's not legendary, but then again, both of them would pop at the same time, and it's still not that great of an effect, so whatever, might as well step on the gas, I guess. I wouldn't probably play something like this. It's just too unreliable. Next up, we've got Carville Handia Ranger, unless that's not the name of a place, and that's supposed to be some kind of like compound name. Because honestly, that still sounds pretty Portuguese, but I don't know. And then it's got Bring Back as a adventure ability. So it's 4 hybrid and 4 hybrid. And the effect for adventure is create 2 1/1 white human tokens, which is obviously garbage for 4. And then if you actually bring it into play, it's a 2/2 for 4. And if you tap it, creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. So this is basically just a Selesnya Flood card. I mean, this is here to assist with that deck, as if that's ever going to come back. But I've got to say, I mean, that ability is pretty nuts. So you could, I mean, you're probably not going to have 8 mana, but you could maybe light them both off on the same turn, and then next turn, boom, boost them. Otherwise, you're looking at like 3 turns to make this card work, and it's not like that good. I mean, if it's tribal, you could just boost them straight up permanently without having to tap something. But if it's not tribal, you got all kinds of different tokens because you're just going sheer volume, numbers. And I think Might of the Mass is still legal, so that might actually be a real deck. You never know. This would do some damage, that's for sure. So next up, we've got the card that everybody's heard about so far. This is the three-headed creature from Stargate SG-1 that was the original host of the Goa'uld. I mean, seriously, does that not look like them? Anyway, it's a legendary creature. Thankfully, this is legendary. You can only have one out at a time. I mean, Wizards got to pump the brakes on a couple more cards than this, because, my gosh. But they did it on this one. So, it's a double green, 4-cost, 4/4 legendary creature beast. It has Vigilance, Death Touch, and Haste, which is pretty funny, actually. You very rarely see Vigilance and Haste, so that's actually kind of cool. And then, I mean, yeah, it's only a 4/4 for force, so you might as well give it Death Touch, because that's not that big. And then Questing Beast can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, so basically you've got Steel Leaf Champion again, except it doesn't cost 3 and doesn't hit for 5. That brings it down to borderline appropriate. I do hate the fact that this can't be chumped, but it costs 4. Like, by the time they have 4, you should have something big enough out to block or kill this, to deal with it, remove it, whatever. But wait, there's more. Combat damage that would be dealt by creatures you control can't be prevented, so that's weirdly specific and like anti-fogged, whatever, who cares? I mean, when do you ever prevent combat damage? And then, whenever Questing Beast deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target Planeswalker that player controls. And if you're thinking that the correct wording would have been, it deals that much damage to up to one Planeswalker that player controls, that is correct. Although the way it's phrased now, okay, the trigger fizzles due to lack of target, fine, it's not like you can't attack, but you don't have the option of not doing the damage. I don't know when you would ever want to do that, other than if you're going to steal their Planeswalker and you want it to have high loyalty. But I think there's only one card in the game that does that, maybe 2, so I don't know. Whatever, hit him. So the old double shot ricochet effect or whatever onto a Planeswalker, I like it. I think that's pretty funny. Because Planeswalkers suck. I hate them. Everybody hates them. You need more ways to not just say, oh, well, they put out a Planeswalker. Now I have to immediately take all of my focus off of their life total, which is how I'm beating them. I'm trying to win the game here and focus exclusively on this stupid Planeswalker. Well, now you don't. I almost think they should have extended that ability to all of your creatures. You know, so that if they're playing Super Friends, you just swing all out at their life total and then just wipe out all their Planeswalkers as well. I wouldn't have minded that at all. People are saying this card's overpowered, but those people are idiots because it's not. Planeswalkers need to die, okay? Planeswalkers are too damn good, and you can get out way too many of them. Remember War of the Spark? So yeah, we're losing the vast majority of the good Planeswalkers, which were ironically not from War of the Spark. They were from a lot earlier. But whatever, I still think it's going to be a problematic deck, and we need a great equalizer like this one. So in a green, ramp and rush deck or some kind of Simic cloners or something, yeah, I'd run this because you might be able to spark double it. You never know. I mean, I just absolutely love everything about this. If you manage to get this into play and resolve it, their stupid Super Friends deck is dead. And they need a one-shot kill against Super Friends decks. And that said, you're only dealing 4 damage to them and 4 damage to a Planeswalker. Now, I also would have upgraded this to say if you hit a Planeswalker, then it can deal that much to another Planeswalker. Also, if you were to boost this up to like a 10-10, you still can only deal all 10 damage to only one Planeswalker. So they really should have made this even better. I think they didn't have room for any more text in the box. I think that's actually why they stopped short of it. So they probably just could have gotten rid of combat damage couldn't be prevented because, by the way, that does not apply to Mu Yanling. She just changes him to have 0 attack. That's not preventing the damage. That's just changing his stats. So the one relevant card in the meta that stops you from dealing damage, this doesn't do anything about it. Wow. So what do you think? Favorite card of the set so far? Leave a comment down below. What do you think? Next up, just in time for the Blair Witch game, we've got Wishclaw Talisman. So this is a 2-cost black artifact. It's a rare, and when it enters the battlefield, you put 3 wish counters on it. If you pay 1, tap it, remove a wish counter, and then search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. An opponent gains control of Wishclaw Talisman. Oh, this sounds awfully familiar. What is this, Amulet of Avarice or something? There's a card almost identical to this. Anyway, activate this ability only during your turn. What is with their obsession of cards that help out your opponent just as much as they help out you? Because those are unplayable, universally unplayable across the board. This is so stupid. You go get your most relevant, powerful card, and then your opponent does the exact same thing next turn. I've got an idea. Don't bother playing this in the first place. I mean, I will say, if you go get some kind of black board wipe and nuke the board, it probably to an extent doesn't really matter what they go get, but I will say that's probably the fastest way for them to come back from it is to hand pick one card. So I don't know, maybe play this in case of emergency, but the thing is, you would drop it in, So that's 2. Then you have to pay 1 to activate it, so that's 3. Then you have to have the mana to cast whatever you're going to get, which is probably a lot. So I don't like this. So next up, we've got Ember Cleave. It's a 6-cost legendary artifact equipment, and it's a mythic. Oh, here we go. I will say, legendary and it costs 6. They can get away with almost anything. I haven't read this yet. So, okay, it has flash. Okay. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature you control. Okay. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. So 1 free equip, obviously. Otherwise, why would you flash it in the middle of combat and then not be able to use it? And equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has double strike and trample. Holy crap. Also, it has equip 3, which is pretty reasonable. I mean, this would be completely and utterly out of control if it said equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each attacking creature. That would be absurd. That would just be instant win. I mean, double strike and trample, are you kidding me? But this is only +1, so it's only 2 extra damage. It basically adds 1 point to the first strike counter, and then everything overflows. So, like, I mean, let's say you equip it to a 3/3, though, it's actually 4 extra damage, because it would be the 3, the double strike on the 3, then the extra 1, then the double strike on the 1. And after they've already assigned blockers, you can flash this in and equip it. So, like, you could really ambush somebody with this, but boy, 6 is up there. I mean, it's very, very good, but it's not too good, and it costs 6. This is a perfectly fair, good card. It's a nice little ambush. You might win the game with it, maybe. I mean, if you equipped it to like a 5/5 or a 6/6, that is a buttload of damage, but 6 is also a buttload of mana. And then you still get some use out of it later. Even if the creature dies, they hit it with a kill spell second main phase. Equip 3. Keep it going. So I like this. And the best thing about this, because remember, I said this in another video, is that red needs things to do that don't involve burn or rush. Suicide Blitz turn 4 win, and Suicide Burn turn 4 win. Boring, stupid, oppressive cliches. Everybody hates them. They're always problematic. We need to slow red down and do more interesting things. This is an interesting thing. Red can do some cool stuff late game, but everybody just ignores it and plays the fastest cards. Boring! So the best thing about this card is that it's fair, it's balanced, it's appropriate, it's a good cost, it's a game winner potentially if you line things up right. Otherwise, your opponent can technically deal with this. And it's a late game red card. Can't ask for much more than that. I absolutely love this. Next up, we've got Blow Your House Down, which, I don't remember the wolf being on all fours and being 30 feet tall, although, I don't know, is that a house? It looks like he's like sitting on the house or over the house. I mean, that looks like the front porch, and then he's on the roof, which means he's not doing the blowing. I'm not sure what's going on here. I mean, if I were to go by the artwork, this card should have been called Blow the Wolf Off Your House. But anyway, moving on from that, it's a 3-cost red sorcery. Up to 3 target creatures can't block this turn. Destroy any of them that are walls. Oh, I love that. This is as close as we're going to get to the red Kool-Aid Man card. I'm sure you've seen it. Just type in MTG Kool-Aid Man. Spoiler alert, it's a card where you tap it and you destroy a target wall because he's the Kool-Aid Man. I don't think they're really going to print that, but they did just print this. So, I mean, this could do some damage. I mean, one of the most problematic cards in the past, and I think it's still going to be legal, is that white card that says something like tap all creatures your opponents control, so you get 1 free swing, and then your creatures gain lifelink until end of turn. I think that's what it does. I do not know how nobody's playing that card right now. I guess there's just so much overwhelming control you don't need to tap their creatures out of the way. But damn, post-rotation, watch for that to go up. So if people do red-white, wow. I mean, watch out. You play both of these, not being able to block twice in a row, you're dead. So this might actually prove to be extremely problematic of a card. Next up, Wicked Wolf, which appears to be part porcupine, and it's a 4-cost rare green wolf, double green, and it's a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Fantastic. And then if you sacrifice a food, put a 1/1 counter on Wicked Wolf, it gains indestructible until end of turn, and then tap it, which makes me wonder what the hell was the point of that then. I mean, I guess it's 100% purely defensive unless you really need the ramp that badly. But, I mean, it's only a 3/3 for 4. That's not very good in the world of green. Now, I have a feeling Wolf Tribal might be a little bit of thing, but otherwise, I guess, I mean, you do get to keep the counter forever, so it's not purely defensive, but this just strikes me as kind of weak. But then again, A former $30 card was Undergrowth Champion or whatever it was called, where every time it took damage, you just removed a counter from it and prevented the damage. That card was crazy hard to defeat. And then I think it was Landfall put a counter on it. So like, damn, I mean, that thing was very, very, very hard to destroy. I will say land is easier to get a hold of than food though. So I don't know. We'll see. I kind of like this though. And next up, we've got Witch's Vengeance. It's a 3-cost black sorcery rare. Creatures of the creature type of your choice get -3/-3 until end of turn. Finally, the great equalizer to absolutely take tribal and kick it in the balls. I wanted either Declaration in Stone or Bioblight, and this is right in between them. This is a little bit wider and better than Bioblight, and, well, it is a little bit wider in targeting than Deck and Stone too. I believe they have to share a name for that one. So normally I'd say, well, take your stupid overpowered Knights deck and just piss off with it because I'm casting this, but one, you can't do it in the middle of combat, which I think was a disastrous mistake on their part, and two, the Knights are going to be bigger than this. I mean, one little boosty spell and that's it. Most of them are already 3 toughness, so then you get one tribal boost out like that stupid artifact, boom, they're 4. This does nothing. Absolutely nothing. You could maybe force them into bad blocks first main phase by casting this, or kill off some that were partially damaged after you suicide blitzed into their creatures during the second main phase. But boy, you better just wipe out everything. I think this is honestly just an anti-fairy card because fairies are way smaller. So I've got to say, with the various formats out there, I think this might be a very expensive card. I mean, this is pretty good in Commander. It's pretty good in possibly some modern decks. Oh man, my allergies are killing me today. Pardon my sinuses here. But yeah, I'm glad that we have a way to stop stupid tribal decks because it looks like everything's going to be a tribal deck now, and I don't like that. I mean, what are some of the most hated decks in the entire world? Elves, Goblins, Slivers. Or as I like to call it, tribal, and tribal. Out-of-control subtype matching is just so annoying. It's so blitzy, it's so sensitive to board wipes, it's so binary, it's so boring and repetitive. I'd rather have an interesting deck that does interesting things than just, oh look, they got bigger, oh look, there's another one, oh look, they got bigger, oh look, another one. It's just boring. So yeah, Witch's Vengeance, blow them all straight back to hell. This honestly should have been -5/-5, and instant speed for still 3 mana. So finally, the last card is another rare, and we've seen some pretty interesting ones so far, Giant Killer. Once again, not quite accurate to the story. I believe he had the giant climbing down the beanstalk, so then he got to the bottom and then chopped it down and it fell over and the giant died from impact. In this artwork, he got about 1 swing into it and the giant's already falling. So, like, what happened there? Did he just shake the beanstalk? Also, this is probably the question you had even before I mentioned that. Why does he have a giant smile and no eyes? That's kind of messed up. But anyway, it's a 1-cost 1/2 human peasant. The creature side has pay 2, tap it, tap target creature, which is very annoying. Basically, you can't block with your best creature. I hate that. And then chop down as an instant speed adventure. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. So unbelievable utility on this. It'll be amazing in draft, amazing in sealed. It'll probably find its way into constructed. Human peasant isn't exactly the most popular subtype in the world, but if you can take their biggest, baddest blocker and get it out of the way, you could almost justify putting this in an all knights deck, even though it's not a knight. This card is just plain good without being overpowered. So, I mean, honestly, today it was a lot of really good, interesting, useful cards without anything just horribly, unbelievably problematic. So, I'm very glad about that. It's certainly making the set look a lot better, but I think there was 1 or 2 cards where I'm like, okay, well, that's game ending, especially when it says tap it, untap artifact, and then another one that says tap it and then put a counter on every artifact when we already have one that does that. Yeah, artifact creatures are going to be completely out of control, and then people are just going to play 21 lifelands because the colors don't mean anything. Oh, you know I'm building that deck for Arena. That thing's going to be virtually unstoppable. And we haven't seen anything that says destroy all target artifacts or return them all to hand like Hurkyl's Recall. So I don't know, that deck looks pretty nasty so far, and I think it's going to be problematic. Other than that, set looks pretty good so far. But we are at a mere 76 out of 269 plus, so there's plenty of room for them to still completely and utterly screw this up. I can't wait, but I can tell you already, this set looks like it will be an absolute riot at the pre-release and for draft, so check that out. Do not miss out on that opportunity. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next video.